Hi folks, so there's a lot of buzz in golf at the moment about ground reaction forces, and you hear commentators say, oh look how he's using the ground, or they're thinking that players never use the ground. Since kind of man stood on earth, he's always used the ground, because when you walk you're pushing against the ground, and when a horse runs or pulling a cart, it's pushing against the ground to pull the cart, and so on. So it's nothing new, and some of you are old enough to remember Greg Norman. You'd see a phenomenon like this. You can see young Joe here, one of our very good players who works at the centre. You can see his foot slipping and pushing off. Well, that's because ground reaction forces, there's various forces you're kind of working up and down, side to side and forward, kind of horizontal, linear and vertical. And in his case, he's twisting his body, so there's a lot of torque. He's kind of pushing hard, and that results in the ground pushing back and his foot slipping. So this can give you an appreciation of what's happening, and that has happened for many years with big hitters. So if I now fast forward to say a young man here, +4 handicap, Jack McPhail, ex-Lancashire Boys champion and very good ball striker, and Jack has a tendency to slide a little too much, to be a bit linear with his motion, and sometimes that means the club kind of almost travels in too much of a straight line and really needs to let the arc curve back, and also the bottom of the arc occur in the right place. So we're talking about just getting the low point correct and the club face control. So he'll drive into his lead side sometimes a little too hard. Got a sponge here to try and encourage him to turn more left, but in this case just using the Bodytrak pressure mat, and there are various pressure mats out there. Bodytrak's one of the world leaders, but there's Gasp and so on in force plates, so really give you a very detailed analysis. And in this instance I just wanted to help Jack understand that although I was actually asking him to stay in his trail hip a little bit longer, i.e. not slide as much, you can see as he turns away here, this representation, he's got 81% of his pressure and force going into this right trail side here, and you can see in his right foot. But like as with many good players, as he's transitioning, the weight starts to shift. So now before he's even halfway down, he's got 70% into his lead foot, and now kind of getting up to increasing there, 80, 90, and getting up to 86% as he's approaching impact. But in his mind here, really what I was trying to illustrate to him, I was asking him to feel like he stays in his right hip for longer, although he's still in his left hip and still driving, and got 93% of pressure going down here. But don't forget, the pressure going down here is the opposite, that it's pushing or allowing him to push his hips back and feel like he's going to rotate his body. So to rotate his body, he's got to use the floor to twist harder, if that makes sense. So 94% here, and you can see he's going into his trail heel, through the ball just after impact, and you can see that with his foot and kind of toe curling up here, and then ultimately balances out into the finish. The point really was trying to illustrate with the 80% here on his lead foot, the point I was trying to illustrate with him is feels not real. Sometimes, although he feels more centered, he still was achieving good impact conditions here and good impact alignments, and we got more control, better low point, and he wasn't sliding as much, but still very, very efficient. So that's where in small doses the technology, if used wisely, can really give you an insight, and the player, more importantly, a better insight and understanding to what's actually happening, where you turn those feelings into numbers and you can see what's going on. But please bear in mind that Tiger, Bobby Jones, Ben Hogan, Jack Nicklaus, Seve Ballesteros all learnt to largely play by feel long before they had a launch monitor or a pressure plate or a force plate and all the other technology available to them. A lot of the skill, as they say, the secret's in the dirt. You've still got to dig it out the dirt as well, with a little bit of help of modern technology.